Hi everyone, and welcome to another episode of my live cash game Play and Explain series. We're jumping straight into a spot here on one of our 500 tables. We see bets small on flop and get check raised. We actually did this deliberately against someone who we perceived to be quite aggressive early. So, um, yeah, going for a small c bet size to sort of induce raises. We're going to face a lot of raise on this texture anyway, like on the pair of sixes. But I suspect this player may be overdoing it. So we're going to look to put our hero cape on and hero call down. Obviously, this six turn is a bit of a bad card for him to keep bluffing on. A lot of his raising range on the flop was his 6x built around his 6x, and a lot of that is now just like discounted. So yeah, it's a bit of an unfortunate turn in terms of like we were planning on getting him to overbluff and calling down, and now obviously he's more likely to shut down. I guess the question is now like, um, how do we get him to reopen? I think we do need to bet and probably like somewhere between third and half pot, I think is what I want to bet. I mean, we do want to charge like he's going to have some random overcards, which we can't really afford to just like check back and let him, peel a free card. But I also want to go small enough that he could still decide to spew off. We get a call. Right, so the two changes nothing at all, right? Like obviously if he has 2x, we're still meeting that hand. Uh we obviously lose to one combo of quads, which would be unfortunate. But obviously now that the board is like a chop, a more aggressive player, potentially a weaker player, may just be inclined to call for the chop quite often, and so I think we can sort of like make this 24 big blinds and get called at a decent frequency. I mean, versus the click raise, I'm just going to call with the price we're getting. We're losing a little bit here. Sometimes something weird's going on. Sometimes he's raising, thinking that he's trying to get us off a chop. Like I don't love our prospects here, but we're also getting 4-1. Okay, and he's just got jacks. Interesting. I mean, yeah, not a required, um, not a required three bet from him pre-flop, right? Like he is allowed to defend just as a call there. Didn't really consider that to be like part of his range. Would have thought to have seen three bets from there most of the time. But anyway, a pretty like I mean we ended up losing more than half a stack anyway, but to not get stacked there, given that we were like intending to call off, like if he bets turn, bets river big, we're probably just like calling down. Open up the 10-9. Got this guy flatting hijack. So we see ace queen deuce multi-way. Um, presumably recreational in the small blinds. I'm torn between small bet and check. I think, yeah, I'm not sure. It's clear to me which line gets more EV. I mean, does small bet achieve enough? Possibly not against a small blind who's going to be more of a calling station, going to have some more offsuit ace x that we're losing to. That's like never folding. we may just be like done with this hand. And certainly now facing pot into two, we're done with the hand. Queen Jack here, we can check or big bet is sort of the strategy we're going with that. Decide to big bet this time. A pretty quick call. And so now the decision is barrel or check. I think without a heart, I mean, we do have a spade, but like I think this hand certainly can continue to bet. Based off the timing of his call, I'm like a little bit less inclined to triple off. And this 5 on the river, again, with the timing, I don't expect we're running into a hand here that, like, I don't expect we're running into king high based off his timing, right? So I think the worst hand he's got is ace high, and I'm not sure we get great fold equity versus ace high here, just off his timing and on this river card. There's like a million missed bluffs, and so if he floated us with ace high, like I think he probably calls river. So I don't think we achieve anything through bluffing this hand. Um, would be my assessment. Like I think we just have zero fold equity against that hand. Holding the queen 7. And we've got someone posting here. So again, for anyone who's new to the channel, the orange tags are like the pretty soft spots. So we have a couple of recreationals up on this table, and yeah, a pretty weird. Like this guy hasn't been getting super out of line, but he's playing some pretty unorthodox lines, which like I don't think are very good. Donking in some spots he shouldn't be donking in. And yeah, you can see his VPIP is a bit all over the place. Okay, so we get a limp here. Can we ISO the queen 9? I think it's pretty close. Like it's pretty marginal, but we're going to go for it. And we see this guy recreational opening to 3.5 big blinds. I think against, a player who's presumably going to be a bit more volatile, playing a slightly shorter stack, we're going to get shoved on at some frequency when we 3-bet this here. I think we probably just prefer playing this as a call. Top pair. Obviously, against this sort of profile, just like never planning on folding this hand pretty much on any run out. So we ISO, and we're going to start with third pot here with range. I think I'm just going to call and just like let him carry all of his air through to the turn and through to the river. And we're probably going to triple off this queen 9 here. Pretty favorable board for us. Yep. So like half pot from recreationals is going to be pretty weak. So yeah, again, I think he's going to be carrying way too much air through to these nodes, and he's giving us way too good of a price. That when he's bluffing at such a high frequency, we're going to be doing very well against this bet. And I think doing well enough that raise is an option, but I think we're going to make more EV from the just calling line and letting him triple off his air. And now on this too as well, like it's a 4-liner, so I expect his better jacks as a recreational might slow down here. But his air may just continue barreling, so like I think we're just very happy to call if we faced a third bet there. I'll have a see if I'm not sure if my Sometimes the like tracking of what hands they had when they checked river there. Okay, no, it is telling me. Yeah, okay, so he had 4x. I'll just bring the hand back up. He had king 4, and so he bets half pot twice with a 4. So, I mean, not really sure. So, like, a bit of a merged approach would be like my view, and so we're going to need to be like careful of, I suppose, like, hero calling ace high against that player if he's like merging fourth pair for a couple of streets. Okay, on this board, after we turn trips, we are going to play quite polar. I think we're going to go for like a B250 and check size after we've checked back flop. And we just get the snap fold. Right, so this guy's presumed recreational. Folding the 6-4, folding the 8-7. Not 100% sure what we want to do at this table. We've got like a couple of players who are probably not, if they're regs, maybe they're recreationals pretending to be regs. I don't know. They're like not playing off 100 bigs. We've got a 3 big blind open. Like, I don't think this guy to my right is particularly strong. Um, just with his opening sizes when he was flatting hijack and he's not playing off 100 bigs, but also like his stats are nothing absurd, right? So it's, he's a recreational spot, but also your win rate against him isn't going to be like monstrous. It's not like a massive whale. But we do have a nice position on him. I'm just trying to determine whether, I want to sit this table or whether I want to get a new table. Given that there are like some pretty recreational spots floating around at the moment, right? Like even if even if player 6 to my right is not a strong player, potentially I can find a different table where, the quality of the pool is even worse. Jack 10 is, I mean, it's pretty marginal, but into a weaker player in the big blind, I think I should open it. And we've also got the cutoff isn't being dealt in yet. We're actually from the hijack. So we've got another presumed recreational here, opening 3 big blinds from the low jack and playing off 90 bigs. Just folding the jack 10 versus the 3-bet. The king 4 suited here, I think we probably just fold, like, now that we're going 4 ways. It's not going to play particularly well post flop. King queen here, mainly just going to play call. And we see a 7-5-2 flop. We face third pot here, definitely considering raise. Just like quite exploitatively, going to attack that size. We face a much bigger sizing, which is much more theoretical from villains, so that makes me less inclined to want to deviate. I don't think we need to continue this hand versus this sizing. Like versus a smaller size, again, we would need to continue either versus raise or fold. Oh, sorry, with raise or call. But I think versus the big size, this is fine to fold without a heart. And I also assume that villains range their, like, people when they use the big sizes are generally going to be like, it's easier to find the strong hands that you need to find for the bigger sizes and harder to find the like less intuitive weaker hands. So I think generally when facing bigger c-bet sizes, like the range is going to be stronger. well, the range is going to be stronger relative to what like theory would suggest it should be. So yeah, I think there's also like a little bit less need to play back against that sizing slash to defend versus that sizing. Okay, pocket kings on the top left. Hopefully we get some action. Going to be opening this up. Okay, see a pretty quick call and like a reasonably quick flop check as well, like pretty snappy. Which may or may not mean anything. Like obviously most people are checking range, but you can still like even if someone's checking range, like potentially read into some sizing tells. Like I guess the snap check there is indicating to me that he might be like centered towards like a one pair value holding is like probably what I'm reading into that, if anything. Like it's a very slight leaning. Um, I'm not going to deviate away from like a baseline strategy here of just like third pot with a large at a reasonably high frequency. We don't really get to go bigger here because there are going to be straights available from both players, and so we have less hands that are just like willing. Kings there isn't really wanting to go three streets and end up all in on the river on many runouts there. So hence we take a smaller sizing structure. Ace five, just gonna let it go, and I think probably just gonna sit out of this table, find a new spot. I don't think the player to my right is giving away too much EV. You would suspect the recreationals in trouble here. I haven't followed the action at all, but um, typically regs aren't going to be bluffing in that spot into a recreational who's going to be highly volatile and likely more of a calling station. Would be nice to like pick up a hand on this table though, the one with the two spots. And we're playing like 11 VPIP. King Jack, we can mix between 3-bet and call. Gonna 3-bet this time. Getting a long tank. And get a call. And we've also got, so opening up the kings, and we will 4-bet the ace queen here. I'm going to start, I think, with third pot here on a7-4. We need to be a little bit more careful out of the big blind here, in that need to be more careful out of the big blind in that we're 3-betting a more polarized range, and so we're not necessarily just like slamming all of the ace X here. I think our specific combo now on the turn, I'm just going to 4-bet the kings. think our specific combo on the turn isn't amazing, given we sort of block his, backdoor, king, queen, a diamond floats, for example, on that flop. We block his, king, queen of diamonds, queen, jack of diamonds, all those type of floats. I think I'm just going to give this one up. And we river a king. Here we're just going to go, we're going to go quarter pot or third pot. We may want to size up a little bit just on this sort of texture, which is quite dynamic. May allow us to play a 2-street game if we want to. I don't think we, I guess we could consider block here. Block is going to, yeah, block's going to get value from like his jacks, 10s, 9s, 8s region. I'm going to go for block. Okay, and we just get snapped off by ace queen. Sure. Yep, that's going to happen like at a good frequency, but we also can, yeah, as I said, get called by some underpairs when we sort of bet that 10% sizing. Okay, on the ace turn, an interesting card. It brings double flush draw. Brings double flush draw, which would suggest that we like often want to be big betting here. It's also just like such a good card for range though that we want to be betting like all the time, which would suggest to me that we should be betting small. I'm not actually sure how we should structure this. I think it's okay to still have small bets and then kings can go into that sizing, but it's a bit thin and dicey already. And now on river, I think we are just gonna check and hope that we're like, I don't think queens jacks are going to turn themselves into a bluff here to the extent they have it. I don't think 10x is going to turn itself into a bluff at a high enough frequency. So I think we can just check folds and be okay. And then yeah, when it goes check check, we sometimes win. Excellent, we do win. I mean, yeah, presumably going to be against queens or jacks. We beat the 9, 10 of hearts. So yeah, the 10x. Like, I'm not actually sure what he's supposed to do with 10x there, whether it's supposed to be a check back or... let's take another look at that. I'm going to throw back the ace-king. And the king-8 versus 2 big blind, like, we definitely need to defend versus the 2 big blind. Whether we want to defend by 3-betting at some frequency, I think is also fair. Let's just bring this one up and have a look at it. So open 3-bet, 4-bet. He's got the 9-10, so we bet call, bet call. He's got 9-10 of hearts. Kind of interesting, like whether he needs to turn his 10x into a bluff. I'm not sure. I'm not sure whether it's like what sort of worse hands does he get here with. I suppose he's going to have like some 7-6. And like I guess if he's 3-betting 10-9, he's the challenge he's going to have is he's going to have like potentially some 8-7s, some 8-9s, like all of those type of hands, which like he gets to on the river with at a high frequency. Yeah, I guess it's fairly close to turning itself into a bluff. I have no idea like if it's actually supposed to like theoretically turn itself into a bluff, but I guess the read was also that I don't think population will do that at a high enough frequency. So regardless of whether or not it is theoretical, um, I don't expect population to find it enough of the time, and so therefore, like, pretty happy to just check fold kings. That was sort of the logic that we were working with there. Again, as to whether it's, should turn itself into a bluff, I'm not 100% sure. Like, I'm playing from a fairly narrow range spot there when I'm four betting from um or four betting from under the gun from the low jack. So like 10x is not going to have a heap of equity there, if any. Like, I guess there are some like king queen suited or something that I've got there. Gonna fold the queen nine. And we've got, yeah, a couple of people here on the new table that are, yeah, playing off short stacks. So, and both on our immediate right, so that's pretty good. Unfortunately, it looks like both the recreational spots have left this table, and we just like never got dealt a hand that we could play. I don't even remember if we've played a hand on this table since I've had the recording on. Doesn't look like we have. Going to open up the king six. Down. Looks like the guy on our immediate right, like, I think he topped up and then obviously just won that pot. Seven tier, we can flat, we can three bet. I think probably prefer flatting here. Then we see queen jack six. Would expect to see like a reasonable amount of check in theory, but I mean the double Broadway board, like he can probably, have a betting range here is probably also going to be fine. Um, I think we just are probably happy to fold versus the low jack betting range here, particularly without a diamond. I think fold is probably the best play. I would also consider like raise at some frequency if we thought that this guy was like c betting too aggressively and c betting too much, but I don't think that's necessarily the case from this player. He seems fairly snug. 7-9. Let's get involved on this table. We're going to come in for a three bet. The king 3-2 board, I think we can bet high frequency for a small sizing. Open up the queen jack and open up the king 10. 7-6 will probably also open, particularly like it's very marginal and probably shouldn't be opening in theory, but into the big blind who looks to be a nit. Like he's presumably not going to defend wide enough versus our open, and so like we're going to capture enough folds from the big blind. Unfortunately, the small blind is woken up with a hand, so it didn't work that time. Maybe the big blind's also working up with a hand. 8-3 suited, just gonna fold versus 2.2. Yeah, okay. I mean, this. So I think this was the guy we had right at the start with the pocket eights versus pocket jacks. Pretty sure it's the same guy. And he's got this like five big blind open from the low jack, which makes no sense as a sizing. In terms of our three bet, I guess we just like do a 3x three bet to like 15, given that we're a bit deeper. Maybe to 14. I mean, we probably don't need to go 3x versus like such a big sizing. I mean, I presume the range is just strong, given we've only seen him do this once. Okay, so really quick check on Jack 10-7, like probably going to take bigger bets and checks as my general strategy. If we were playing a little bit less deep, um, jam is like also a strategy. Not necessarily the strategy going to be taken by aces, more going to be taken by like queens and kings, and like ace king, ace queen. Jamming is definitely an option on some of these Jack 10x boards. I think against this player, just like go a bit of a like custom sizing. We get a limp here. This is a like pretty dicey run out with aces here. Um, we can check. We can also raise. I think I prefer just raise straight away against a limpo. So I guess the question is here with aces, like, do we have a hand strong enough to be all in on the river with? And the answer to that is probably no. Like, I don't think we like now that ace queen's there at full frequency. I guess we also have to think about his open sizing as well, as to like what that means. Like how often is that going to be ace queen? We also block it well. I think check is fine, and then we can. Oh, it's not a good run out. I was going to say check is fine, and then like on safer runouts we can still consider jam. And this is just like pretty grim. Gonna fold the queen five versus the three bets. This is yeah, very, very grim. Do we beat anything? Not really. Like I struggle to see what he can have here that we beat. So I think we just have to find a fold and just be pretty sad about it. Like the call, the five big blind open, and then the call to 14 big blinds or whatever we went to, and then that run out. I just don't think we are ever ahead there. Like we're ahead of Ace King, but Ace King isn't taking that line. Um, yeah, I think I think we just have to sigh and let it go. And again, it's a similar spot where like, yeah, I also don't think he's, turning any pairs into a bluff, right? Like, so I don't think he's taking, I mean, it'd have to be like ace 10 and we block all the ace 10s and ace jacks and whatnot. And it's like any queen, any ace is a straight. Um, and yeah, potentially for that sizing, he's also like betting sets and stuff at some frequency as well. So like, there's just a million hands we lose to, and hard to see what we beat. Like the only thing we beat are under pairs to the extent that they ever exist, but they literally have to be pocket sixes and below. And given that we hadn't seen him use the five big blind open very often, like I doubt that pocket sixes and below are in that open range. And if they were, they probably fold flop at a decent frequency. Gonna throw about the aces here, and just gonna take a look at how old mate just won the previous pot. Yeah, he found a good raise on flop, but like relatively out of line, and then just backed into it. I mean, it's not out of line. It's just like a yeah, not a raise that everyone's finding, I suppose. Okay, Jack 9-5. We are going to take a large c-bet sizing structure here with bottom set. Like it's unblocking all of the top pairs, which are going to struggle to. Well, they're going to struggle to fold enough, as they need to be versus the big sizing. Um, People are going to get still too attached to those type of hands. There's plenty of draws, gut shots, etc. that can also continue. We're just going to like look to play a massive pot. Unfortunately, get no takers this time. Okay, how do we want to play the aces here? I think I'm going to start out with small again. And then probably do a lot of checking on turn. Fives, we're probably just going to do a lot of check folding on this sort of flop. Okay, we face raise. So yeah, I think never doing anything other than call here. And then just like going into check call mode because we block all of his value combos. I mean, we're always getting the money from fives and sixes, and then we're just like letting him spew off if he's choosing to spew off. Yep, five's a beautiful turn unless we were running into pocket fives. Beautiful turn in that now we can just let his 7-8s just like fire off, and we have the nuts, and 7-8 is never like even when it rivers are straight. We're obviously never losing. Again, I think the only play here is call. All of his value, if he had 6-5, if he has pocket sixes, if he has ace-5 or ace-6, they're all shoving river. So we're getting all the money from all of his value, and so really we are just now giving him the room to bluff off if he's choosing to bluff off. Holding the pocket fives, and we do get the shove. Hopefully we're not running into pocket fives. And we do, get the 9-8, which rivered his way into a flush, but that was again, I guess, the point of how good the 5 was on the turn, right? We now don't even need to consider raise on the turn because there's no longer any value in like denying his equity because he's just like completely dead in the water. Okay, 10-4-4. Okay, so this is the tags have like temporarily disappeared. He must have been sitting out, but this is the I mean, I'm assuming a recreational plays a bit of a plays some weird things going on. Ace-6 here with a heart, I think, can go either way in terms of betting small and checking. Like we have plenty of showdown, and in the checking line, we can look to call down turns and rivers, which I think is the line I'm going to go to against a recreational who like may potentially lose control of sort of his turn range when we sort of like we haven't filtered his range at all by not betting on the flop, and so he's arriving to the turn with a whole heap of air. We are still going to check the turn, and then we're going to look to call rivers if we face a bet. And we face a quick check, and no point in bluffing this hand. Like we have enough showdown. He just also has ace high. Open up the queen jack. We'll probably call it a day on this session soon. Yeah, I mean, we got that last stack through. I think we started off with probably our worst hand, with the pocket eights versus pocket jacks. Has otherwise been, relatively smooth sailing. Here with the pocket fours, like this is close, it's marginal. I'm going to fold versus the big blind because I don't expect him to find the sort of the more polar range that he's supposed to find here, right? This is going to be much more linear by most of population and stronger in general. It's like a pretty zero EV spot in theory anyway, right? Like we can call, we can fold. It doesn't really make much difference in theory. Yeah, so if you've enjoyed the video, if you got this far, yeah, please give the video a like. Let me know if you had any thoughts on some of the hands in the comments. I'll do my best to get back to you. And yeah, a bit of a gap between posting, but I'll try and get some more videos coming out shortly. Alrighty, guys, thanks for watching, and I'll catch you on the next one. Cheers.